Hey everyone! As promised in the last videos, we're upgrading the 200 solo Maraudon pool to 330 mobs in only 15 minutes in pre-patch. From my understanding, this is a few minutes faster than what mages can do due to the new AoE limitations, so you might see a lot of paladins boosting the space code soon. Like I said in the 200 video, pre-patch makes the pool significantly easier with more spell power and a huge increase in consecration scaling. Without further ado, timestamps in the description below and let's start. As far as consumables, they're pretty similar to the 200 pool. You still need Zanza, 3 swiftness potions, which is 1 more than before, some optional dense dynamites or Angora crystal charges if you're gonna speed it up, 1 cheap explosive, and that's it. No target dummies or engineering required this time around. On to talents, you'll want to go deep into the Holy Tree for the reduced mana cost from Divine Illumination, Purifying Power, and increased spell damage from Holy Guidance, and of course, Holy Shock to pull the mobs. You should also get Guardian's Favor, as the Blessing of Protection reduced cooldown can, and usually does, make you run quicker. Gear-wise, it's as planned as before, mostly tier 2, with a couple of tier 3 pieces in for the highest spell damage and MP5 combination. And remember that because of Holy Guidance talent, 35% of our intellect is converted to spell damage, so some tier 3 pieces end up being better than tier 2. Also, because all the plus heal now gives 1/3 of their value in spell damage, we also use Rege of Gems since it has a lot of mana regen and decent spell damage. The last big change is that since we kill them off so fast, Wrath of Cenarius becomes pretty good since we pull out quite a few consecrations during bubbles. Alright, time for the pool. Let me start by saying that I'm usually streaming on Twitch doing these pools live, so if you got any questions or just wanna hang, you can come say hi. The first important tip is to avoid using consecration as much as possible, and instead try to pull the mobs rotating Judgment, auto attacks, body pulling, Hammer of Justice and Holy Shock, and leave consecration as a last case scenario. This is because with the new scaling, even a rank 1 consecration will do significant damage to the mobs, and you want them to reach the boosties with as much health as possible. For that reason, you should also use rank 1 Seal of the Crusader to Judgment instead of Seal of Righteousness, since it doesn't do any damage. And once you get to the Satyrs, you can also use Exorcism rank 1. The second important note is that unlike the 200 mob pool, there are a lot of Earth Elemental patrols that you want to get, which makes it harder to have a strict rotation of spells to use like I did in the previous videos. I will still put all the spells that I use in the screen as always, but be mindful that you might have to react and adapt whenever you see a patrol in a different path from this video. Okay, with that out of the way, follow the path that I've been running up until this point and go towards the princess area of the dungeon. When you are near this ledge, aim to fall in the bridge below and bubble. Don't worry, as it will come off cooldown just before we need it again. Avoid pulling these snakes, and you should have a patrol to start your pull here, which I use a Holy Shock for. Make your way up to the end snake pack and use a Judgment, followed by a sneaky rank 1 consecration that only hits a few mobs for 1 tick. Judgment should be coming out of cooldown just in time to pull this pack, and you can auto-attack the last snakes. There's a high chance another patrol will be at or around this bridge, and I generally choose to Holy Shock the last mob in it to avoid being stunned by the big elementals. Once you get to these snakes, Judgment the first pack and Holy Shock the second one, as we're trying to keep as most distance as we can from the elementals. Another snake pack is on the right here, and Judgment should be out of cooldown again in time to aggro them, and then you can just auto attack the last pack as you're running by. You want to keep a healthy distance from these lizards. I'm sorry I can't pronounce that name without sounding ridiculous, since they silence you. So you'll want to Judgment and instantly make a sharp turn to run away. If this patrol is around here, Holy Shock it as far as possible because again they stun, body pull or even stun these Diamatratas, and use Judgment on the snakes. And another Holy Shock on the next Diamatratatos. Here I choose to Judgment the Elemental and auto-attack the snake because the consecration would make all the pack behind me take significant damage, and then make a kind of circular path to start stacking the mobs a little bit. Judgment this last snake pack, and be sure that by the time you're climbing up this ramp, your Holy Shock is coming out of cooldown, as it's the only way to pull those Diamatringos in the corner. Sometimes this patrol will be right here, and if it is, my advice is to stun the big elemental since the small ones can stun you back. Pull this pack of the Amakongos with the Judgment, and go around the corner to check if the patrol is close by. If it is right there, as it is in my case, pull them with the Holy Shock, use Blessing of Protection and make your way back. You should have just enough time of Bop to fall here and heal up with a Divine Favor and Holy Light, followed by positioning yourself where I am and waiting for a few seconds. When the mobs are close enough, shock the first packs of the Amatradis and make a run for it. I usually sidestep the second pack and Judgment after I'm ahead of it and just body pull the next one, as the silence is not so worrying at this point. There should be one last elemental patrol ahead of you, which you can either stun or Holy Shock, and a final pack of the Amatrokemonch on the left to pull with Judgment. Right, so at this point you want to try and avoid pulling as many Hydras as you can, since they can be quite annoying for us to kill. And to do that, you need to somehow micromanage this conga line of mobs behind you. The best way to do that is to keep looking back and running in a straight line between the Hydras for as long as you can, and only start moving towards the left tunnel when you feel like the backmost mobs won't pass by any Hydras, as they can all social aggro them. In my case, I was lucky with the Hydra paths and I didn't pull any of them except this last one, which there is no way to avoid. Now we're back to the old 200 mob pool, and I've only made a few modifications to it. The first one is that you have to use a swiftness potion just as you enter this ramp to be sure that you can pull the snakes in the dead end. Judgment the first pack and wait until Holy Shock is just in range to use it and instantly make a sharp turn towards the next ramp. This should make it so that you have a few seconds to jump up the ramp before the pack reaches you. Judgment this snake and auto attack the next pack. After that, make sure you run in a straight line towards the group in the further left, and Judgment the right one on the way. Run through these mobs here, and go land an auto attack in the final pack. Your bubble cooldown should have ended some time ago, so use it now to both stack the mobs and to run away without dying. And then when running, do a little bit of sliding in these walls, as the mobs behind you will stop for a split second, giving you the distance that you need after bubble is over. Now around this time in the last video, I explained how you can avoid the mobs resetting by using a target dummy from engineering, but I've since found a better way to do it and I'll show that in a bit. I also mentioned to avoid pulling the Cavern Shamblers since they heal, but our damage is so big now that it doesn't really matter. For now, just make sure you walk on the left side of the water so the mobs never stop running. Once you get to these slimes, you can body pull them while you wait for the big group, and once that's close enough, make your way to the rest of the mobs. Start by using a Judgment on this lurker at a decent distance, and stun the next one, which will chain aggro the third cavern mob. Leave a rank 1 consecration on these slimes, Judgment the mob next to them, and Holy Shock the one at the end. Make your way up and simply body pull these slimes and Judgment the lurker next to them. Pull these slimes with a body pull instead of consecration, that was my mistake. And at the top of the ramp, get the final pack and jump down. Once you're down, instantly Judgment these two slimes in the corner and pick up any leftovers on the way back to the water. Here, take your time to heal up with a Divine Favor and a Holy Light and start hugging the left wall. Wait for the mobs to be close enough to you and then start making this U-turn mentioned before as a way to fold the mobs into a tighter group. You can usually do it all the way to the other side, but if at any point you feel like the pack is too close, just use Blessing of Protection a bit earlier. At this point, start moving up to the ramps again so the mobs stack up, and when you're about 4 seconds away from Bop ending, use a swiftness potion and keep running up. Don't forget to rebuff Blessing of Wisdom. Then run on the right side of this slime since pulling them means a lot of resetted mobs, and use the explosive rocket on the sludges ahead. At this point it's nearly identical to the 200 pull. You want to exorcism the satyrs on the left, let that lurker be social aggroed by the conga line behind you, judgment these imps, and save your holy shock for the second sludge pack. Make sure you target the middle one and use it as soon as possible and keep running. If this shambler or lurker is in the way, take a small detour over this route on the left, then prepare your seal, stun the last lurker and judgment the sludges. Exorcism the satyrs on the right, rank 1 consecration on these 2 trees, judgment next, and finally auto attack the last one. Now usually I was doing 2 laps around here, but to speed it up, you jump between this corner and you holy shock the pack underneath. Then use a rank 1 consecration to pull the 2 stealth satyrs. Run to the tree in the stairs and use judgment. And then make the wall jump. This time around for speed, we aren't going to wait for the mobs and instead just instantly start moving. Pull these trees with the consecration. Make your way to the den and like before, use exorcism on the right one while leaving a consecration that hits both packs in the left. Make your way back and try to pass in between this lamp and the wall so that you're just a little bit faster than the big pack that's following behind you. Note that while I did do this many times in stream without dying using a Zenza, if you're only having Pursuit of Justice, you can't really outrun the mobs and at this point you'll probably die. About now, you want to start killing the mobs as you're already in range of the boosties, so I start by using a Divine Illumination into a max rank consecration, while pulling the tree down there with a Holy Shock. As soon as consecration is out of cooldown, use another max rank, exorcism the left pack, and from now on only use rank 3 consecration behind you. Judgment the imp on this corner and use the last swiftness potion of the run, which you'll want to do so that you can pull the mobs in the cave to the right with yet another exorcism, and after put down another consecration and make your way to the kill spot. Judgment these imps as everything else should be on cooldown, and when you're up in the ramp, wait just a little bit until the majority of the elites pass through underneath, as they can hit you from under there if you're on top of the bridge. An exorcism in this satyr, and another consecration in this exact spot, which will make it so that after you fall from the platform, the mobs will pass on top of it again and double dip the damage. You guessed it, another final rank 3 consecration before we move to the kill phase, and jump down ASAP so that again you can double dip the damage. Make your way to the pole and wait until the mobs are even on both sides. At that point, bubble first and only then jump in. Use a max rank consecration which will proc Wrath of Scenarios, then use your trinket and a dense dynamite or a crystal charge. When bubble is at 1 or 2 seconds away, jump back into the pole and let the mobs go down a little bit in the ramp. As soon as it feels safe, jump back up, and again, start using rank 3 consecrations because it's the best in terms of mana efficiency for the damage that it does. At this point all you have to do is a good old consecration dance and make sure the mobs run back and forth on top of it. When Forbearance debuff is over, put 1 consecration down, kite the mobs back a little bit, and then Blessing of Protection into them, followed by a max rank consecration. Like when bubbled, jump back into the pole when there's just a few seconds left of it, and continue dancing the dance of our people. Make sure you reapply Wisdom after the pop, and that you use Divine Favor with Holy Light to keep yourself up. Not much else to say at this point, as hopefully you guys got the hang of it. You just gotta keep jumping back and forth to make sure they take damage from Consecration. So this run took a total of 15 minutes and 20 seconds from start to finish, and we've killed about 330 mobs, which I think is pretty good for a Paladin. Hope you guys enjoyed it and that it was helpful for anyone looking to get their shamans up to speed ASAP, and I'll see you guys in the next video.